Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Kari's Confessions, a nonprofit exec tells all. I'm Kari Anderson, your host and principal with Incite Consulting. My podcast explores the tools and strategies that help nonprofit leaders grow their impact and build resilient organizations. Today's topic is shared responsibility without confusion, board and staff rules that actually work. So, as always, I'm here to share some hard-earned lessons and honest truths from life inside the nonprofit world. I spent 25 plus years in the nonprofit sector and leadership roles with 7 organizations. Now I provide coaching and consulting services to nonprofits like yours to make sure that you've got the structure, systems, and practices to do your best work. Wherever I go, I continue to hear that nonprofit execs need a space to gather, to receive tools, feedback, and advice that encourages them to stay the course. It doesn't matter if you're in a village of 182 or in a metropolis of millions. Nonprofit work is both gratifying and lonely. I'm here to make sure that you have a chance to breathe, laugh, smirk, and get excited again about the important work that you do. So, this is Kari's Confessions, so it's confession time. If you've ever watched a nonprofit team work really hard and still somehow duplicate decisions, delay approvals, or quietly undo each other's work behind the scenes, you already know this truth. Good intentions do not prevent board and staff confusion. In fact, they often create it. And if that sentence makes you slightly uncomfortable, congratulations, you're in the right place. So here's the scene we all know too well. Classic scenario. The board is passionate. They join because they care. They bring expertise. They genuinely want to help. The staff, equally committed. They're executing fast, serving clients, meeting outcomes, keeping funders happy, and trying not to burn out. And yet, a board director emails a staffer with just a quick tweak, which turns into a whole new priority. A committee rewrites a staff plan instead of approving the goal and letting the staff implement it. Staff stops sharing early drafts because the board will meddle. Then the board is blindsided, late, and slows everything down. Decisions get made 2, 3, 4 times. Once in a meeting, once in a hallway conversation, and once in a follow-up email thread no one can track. No one is being malicious. Everybody is mission-driven, and still the organization pays the price. Slow the execution, bruise trust, and that creeping feeling that the system itself is unreliable. So why am I talking about this today, and why should you listen? I'm saying all this from a very specific professional vantage point. Some of you know I'm a really good nonprofit wrangler and a border collie and a professional people herder. My job is often less about the right answer and more about building a human operating system that keeps smart, well-meaning people aligned. What you're about to hear is not theory. It's not best practices fluff. It's the practical rules that let you share responsibility without turning your nonprofit into a tangled web of half ownership and surprise decisions. So why do good intentions still create confusion? Board and staff confusion usually isn't about competence. It's about ownership. Nonprofits are weird in a good way. Everyone is responsible for mission success, but not everyone should be responsible for the same decisions. Here's the tension. Shared responsibility for outcomes and unclear ownership of decisions. And when roles aren't explicit, help becomes overlap. Overlap becomes delay. Delay becomes distrust. Worse, confusion compounds. Every time a decision gets duplicated, reversed, or debated after the fact, people learn that accountability is optional, authority is negotiable, and the safest move is either micromanagement or avoidance. The good news? This is fixable without silos, cold walls, or stay in your lane shame. So there's a one-sentence definition that changes everything. Here it is. Tattoo it on your governance brain. The board governs and ensures accountability. Staff manages and executes. That's the partnership. And here's the most important clarification. Shared responsibility means shared outcomes, not shared tasks. You succeed together. You do not share the same to-do list. Most confusion comes from the helping trap. Like, a board director helps by directing a project. A staff leader helps by bypassing governance to move fast. Both are trying to be useful. Both accidentally create shadow systems. And shadow systems are where trust goes to die. So what does the board own? And by the way, this is non-negotiable. The board's job is not to help staff. The board's job is to govern. That means ownership of strategic direction, CEO or executive director oversight, the single point of accountability, financial accountability, policies and guardrails, organizational legitimacy, and stewardship. If the board drifts into operations, you'll see red flags that look like this: directing staff work, rewriting staff plans, acting like department heads, meetings full of reports and no decisions, staff getting guidance from multiple board directors. That's not engagement. That's a decision rights problem. So what do staff own? And this is equally non-negotiable. If the board owns governance, staff owns management and execution. That includes operations and implementation, people management and culture, systems, capacity, vendors, and workflows, and telling the truth about constraints and trade-offs. Staff red flags look different. Here are some examples: withholding information to avoid board questions, treating the board like a rubber stamp, making strategic pivots without alignment, overpromising to funders without governance buy-in. Transparency isn't optional. It's the price of autonomy. So there's a rule that we can use to prevent 80% of this overlap. Here it is, simple and powerful. The board sets outcomes, constraints, and acceptable risk. Staff chooses the methods. The board asks, what does success look like? How will we measure it? What risks matter? What decision do you need from us? Staff decides which tools, which vendors, which tactics, who does what and when. Quick contrast that saves hours. So board, approve the goal. Staff, pick the tool. So decide once, right? And here's a decision rights map that will allow you to do this. Most nonprofits don't need more meetings. Hallelujah. They need fewer mystery approvals. So a decision rights map can help you answer who decides, who recommends, who must be consulted, who must be informed. And shared never means everyone decides together. It means collaborate, then one body decides. This is how you stop re-deciding. Now, there's a one voice rule, and this really is a trust superpower. This is the fastest trust builder I know. The board speaks to staff through one voice, and that is the CEO or executive director. So, direct board to staff, and if you have direct board to staff instructions, that creates chaos even when it's polite. So clarify your chain in your organization. The board interfaces with the CEO and the executive director. That's the lane, right? Committees coordinate through staff liaisons. Individual board directors don't assign work unless explicitly authorized. This isn't control, it's clarity. So we also have to make sure that we're fundraising without stepping on each other's toes. This is a biggie for boards and staff, right, in terms of confusion. Let's talk about the emotionally loaded one, right, for all boards and its fundraising. Here's the clean definition for everyone. The board owns fundraising results and stewardship. Staff owns the fundraising system. Board directors don't need to freelance offers, promises, or program commitments. If a donor asks for something outside of the strategic plan, the response is simple. Let me bring it to our team so that we can do that well. That protects staff. It protects donors. It protects the organization. So something's going to break. We're in the business of humans, right? It will. Just give it time. There are patterns, specifically 5, that show up again and again in all organizations at some point in time. Board micromanagement, staff avoidance, committee creep, board member freelancing, and CEO isolation. The fix is always the same. Return to decision rights. Return to communication lanes. Get agreements in writing. So there's a culture layer, and admittedly, this is where my border collie comes out, right? Like rabidly. Mission-driven people want to help. You don't shame that. You channel it. Normalize that tension. Praise clarity. Create trust rituals like monthly chair and CEO syncs, quarterly board learning opportunities, annual strategy refreshes. Over time, the culture becomes we are one team with different jobs. So if you're struggling a little with this or recognize that we could grow as an organization, there's a 2-week reset that you can actually implement. If you want to move this from theory to reality at your organization, identify your top overlap pain points, draft a 1-page decision map, reset your committee charters, adjust the board agenda, please. Publish a simple how we work summary, and look for these success signals. Fewer ad hoc approvals, faster decisions, more confident staff, cleaner board meetings. So I've got a final confession for you today, and it's challenge. Board staff confusion isn't a morality problem. It's an operating system problem. Clear lanes plus shared outcomes beats good intentions every time. So here's your challenge for the week. Pick one rule, just one. Either the one voice rule or a painfully simple decision rights map for your biggest recurring pain point. And if you're stuck in the we all mean well but keep stepping on each other loop, sometimes you need a nonprofit wrangler, a border collie, a professional people herder, because clarity doesn't have to feel cold and governance doesn't have to kill heart. Thanks for joining me today for Kari's Confessions, a nonprofit exec tells all. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a colleague or board member. Make sure to follow me on your favorite streaming platforms, and for additional resources and tools, follow me on LinkedIn. You can also check out my website at inciteconsultinggroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.